So, hi, Chandragupta. What a pleasure
I,
to be able to speak with you this morning. I mean, it is evening to you.
yeah.
And it was great having your work in Los Angeles during our exhibition at Beck Art in 2019. I
Yeah.
mean, it feels like a decade ago. But,
Yeah.
I visited Sri Lanka during the 2019 holiday for the first time as a tourist. And I
Okay.
met Saskia Fernando without any plan, and that was not part of our agenda. But I mean, it was a eye-opening moment. So since then, since then we have been preparing for this exhibition.
Yeah.
And after spending some time with your work and learning more about Sri Lanka's art scene, it has become evident that this focus on an art-driven social critic within Sri Lanka is something that artists like you and Jagat helped conceptualize.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how this shift in perspective came about in your practice. And what about your early artwork to help articulate about the political state in Sri Lanka at that time?
Yeah. I think my turning point, I think since 1997, when I started continuously every year do some work.
Right,
So it's after when I returned from the Moscow after 10 years of study, almost
right,
10 years.
right,
That spending. So 97 is the turning point because it is, even before the 97 when I just, for my coursework or whatever creative work, I used to use Sri Lankan themes for my
right,
work,
right, right,
even though
right,
I
right, right,
studied in Moscow,
right,
the,
right.
especially for my compositions that free independent work. I did my, uh, while responding to the Sri Lankan situation. So I think that it is coming with me with the love with the human figure. That is why I went to the Soviet Union also. And at that time, I thought that's the best place I can learn more on human figure because we are that the if human figure is a social, socially constructed and
Right.
social being, political being, so and if you are observing that human body through that, you can do a lot of things. But unfortunately, when I came back to Sri Lanka, it was totally changed because of the war and ongoing war and everywhere roadblocks and
Right.
a new hope for the peace also disrupted by the third wave of the war. And even under the Chandrika's government, they proposed a lot of peace proposals and, they moved forward to have a peace. Later, it became a war for peace rather than peace establishing because of the both end came to that kind of situation,
Right, right,
internationally and locally. At that time, the situation is very fragile, difficult, and a lot of tug war between India and America and Pakistan. Sri Lanka was a victim of that tug of the political war.
right, right. And
So
that's the
that,
time that you also start the school as well.
yeah, yeah. So then actually the my conscious learning of art started 1978, actually just after the new constitution introduced and the whole political the atmosphere totally changed from the closed economy to open economy and presidential power introduced. And so, and a lot of bloodshed started. And 1983 was one of the result of all those changes, not listening to the people and people needs, and especially the North, even though they are fighting from 70s. And politically, the South was not ready to listen to them. And it has a long history because 1950s and 1956, why when the SWR Bandaranayake, Chandrika Bandaranayaka's father, and he got the power and he wants to give the federal solution and kind of more powers to use by Tamil in their territories, but Sinhalese was against. And they said establish the Sinhala language as a first language, main language of Sri Lanka. So he
Right, right,
was
right,
by force. From that point, this more the ethnic issue became more violent and violent every
right, right,
year, not listening to their needs. First they
right, right,
want to have a kind of recognition of their language and give some kind of administrative powers to in their areas. Later it became a kind of separatism uh, kind of war. And
right,
it happened in 1983. Actually, the 1983 was the politically it was influenced me because it happened in front of my eyes. At
right,
that time, I was in Sri Lanka, but 23 years old. But just after the just finished my uh, first degree here in Sri Lanka and looking for to chances to establish as an artist. So then, and those things happened. So the 1983, and at that time I worked as a freelance artist at the newspaper.
right,
So
right,
and so then it happened in front of our eyes. I saw it how it happened.
right, right.
So that burning and killing, I
That's
heard
drama.
about the
Yeah.
killing, but burning
Right, right,
and looting, what's happening in the even you can the looting process, how it's going on in America now
right,
also
right,
recently
right,
after the
right.
Floyd, yeah, the situation.
Must
So
be
same kind of thing happened. So it is, but I was 23 years old, young, but we can't do anything to stop that.
right,
So it's a kind of guilt because you can't politically involve. The presidential power is there because it's organized crime by the government at that time. So and so that 1985, I left the country to study, get my higher studies. So even though we are there, I heard a lot of news what's happening in Sri Lanka every day. It's like a
right,
bloodbath.
right, right,
Then
right, right, right,
85 happened in front of my eyes. And 88, 89, that other while, the next, the southern youth rebels against the government. So that those killings started in 1988 to 90. So that also happened. I saw all the every day because I have to watch news to study Russian also. That is one of the assignment we had when we are in the first year language studies. So then that's the one of teachers will ask, you have to follow the news, and that's how you can capture the words and expressions, images, and so it's easy for you to understand the language. So one
right,
of the, so when we are listening to news, we are first or second news from Sri Lanka. So bloodbath
right,
again,
right,
the Lebanon, they are Cyprus, Sri Lanka, or either Lebanon, Sri Lanka, Cyprus, or Sri Lanka, Lebanon, Cyprus, like that. Every day we are hearing, we were hearing all this news. That is why the kind of work I did, especially against the death for life,
right,
So
that
And that
like black paintings
politicization of
and
my work started from that point, actually.
right, right, right,
I
right,
paint the mirror wall at that time. And
right,
again, another painting called Death Not Foretold, number one, also I did in Moscow when the
right, right, right,
1988, when I just heard about the killing of famous peace negotiator and politician, actor Vijay Kumar Tunga, he was killed. So that
right,
when I heard that news, I realized my composition realization happened, So, and
right,
of
right,
course, because at that time I have to produce a composition to select my studio. And so that's my proposal, composition. So my future teacher was selected because of that painting.
right, right,
And he liked that composition, and
right.
he thought that is why that's the chance I got study under the Salahov, Tai
So,
Taimurovich Salahov.
right, right,
So
right,
and we even though we studied under the Soviet Union, and in our studio we had 100% freedom because my master,
wow,
the Salahov,
right,
asked,
right,
do what you think.
right, right,
So
right,
he said you have to learn the classical things to that you can manipulate your language. You know how to use
right,
brush and techniques, and but you don't
right,
have to repeat those things.
right,
It's
right.
for the
So,
study purpose.
right.
But
So that's the my next question about your technique and the material that you use. I
yeah,
mean, during the show in Los Angeles, we have shown your ink drawings and glitch series,
yeah,
and the audience found your material choice of glitch series, which was the masking tape and acrylic,
yeah,
very interesting and curious.
yeah, yeah.
So your work have ranged from mixed media installation to camouflage barrel, these ink drawings to glitch paintings. So I'm wondering how you approach your material selections and how they operate conceptually within each of your different series.
Yeah, I think the for the it's very good that when I studied in Russia, the perestroika happened 1987. So a lot
Right,
of opening ups, and you can use new language. You can experiment with your material and technique. You don't have to stick to the your traditional canvas and oil. You saw a lot of changes.
right,
And I saw the Gunther Yuk exhibition in Moscow, and he used nails and dust and various materials to produce his art, even the barrel also. But it's not in
right,
my form, So, but it's he has a use as a element, as a material. But it was unconsciously, I think, settled in my mind, those changes. And somehow I love to have a kind of, this learning with the H.A. Karunaratne in Sri Lanka. So he gave the sense of abstract forms and texture, color, you know, independently the form and line colors can speak. So that also kind of, my I'm the kind of, you have that sense and same time figurative approach also. That is why the early work was more figurative. And I think even when I found the barrel, in 1999, end of 96 and early 97, I did some sketches, and end of 97, I introduced the barrelism. So then I thought that's the figure. I mean, I just
ah,
changed figure
interesting,
as a human body. I was searching for human body, but I found only the barrel. But it's a painted barrel, and it has its own kind of identity, Sri Lankanness, and it has history. It's not an empty barrel. That's where I started the approach with the various material. Then I painted a lot of barrels on plywood or plastic, on plastic, acrylics, various. So
Right.
then you
Because
have a
the
concept. The material is the realization of that concept. Just the
right,
support.
right, right.
And so
Because the
then it's carrying
recently
the message. It's like a vehicle. you know
right,
and that
because
is
the
why the
recently
even glitch effect. So I wanted to get the those lines. For example, if you are watching the TV, so you see when you are you are not having much electric power for the image, so you see the glitch. So the parallel lines, to make the parallel lines, I found the easiest way to produce that lines is using the uh, tapes. So when I removing the tapes, I found that that paint carry that tape also. Then I put that tapes on the canvas as a making a picture. So that is the
ah
so kind of
interesting.
thing.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
and
see.
it's a kind of part of process also
Right, right.
become part of the work.
I see.
So, and the lines also came, like line came because of my main language. Even though I the the not given more prominence until 2005. For 2005, that project with Shamini Pereira, that 1 year drawing project. So drawing was the main subject. At that time, my son was very small, so his drawings inspired me. Way of his handling of the pencil or pen, or how he start the uh, drawing on the paper. So it broke the classical way of drawing. So it is influenced me, and so then I started more drawing, and again, when you are busy with teaching and other thing, you have not enough time to produce the painting, because painting and the sculpture, you need more time to finish the work. So the
Right,
drawing also kind of, it's like uh, while you are, in that much the much smaller energy, but you have to think a lot. But anyway, to produce the drawing, not that hassle, because you have only ink and the pen, or to carry the ink and the paper and your mind and your feelings
right, right,
and your
right,
political
right,
thinking. So then that mix
right,
it and
right,
you will get the drawing.
right, right. So all
And so
these
that's
drawing, I mean, all these different series and the materials, but they all reference to similar indigenous history and narrative around trauma.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and then you already mentioned about your barrel paintings.
yeah,
So recently, the LACMA, the LA County Museum of Art, has chosen your barrel paintings from 1997
yeah,
and camouflage shade painting for their permanent collections.
yeah,
So I was personally wondering about the meaning of a barrel, but you just told me, which is very interesting, that you
yeah,
see the barrel as in part of a figure, and it's just another form of a space to
yeah,
express.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that is why the when the ice had a situation where all the road blocks and security situations, the barrel became blocked as a kind of disturbing the civil movements and freedom. And so
right,
the barrel is there, but it's painted. So that is why the barrel became a kind of symbol. Same time questioning. It was painted by the authorities, but I painted the barrel and put it to the art gallery, and it speak itself as an art. So then it became artwork, and so then you can. asks a lot of questions. It is not the empty one, because when we saw the 1970s, the barrel, it was just innocent barrel. It's carrying the tar or chemicals, used for the development of the country or road buildings, kind of,
Right,
but
right, right,
when you see the barrel of the wars, like a barricade element, so it's not innocent. It's totally changed. It's innocence, and it's not empty that much, even though it's empty barrels painted. So the every year lot of blood in it, and
right, right,
same time you question the barrels because where it is located, and it's
right,
located where you enter the city, and Colombo, when you're looking at the that is why I made the map, parallelism tourist map also. And so that missing barrel barricades, started to mark. So then I found that all the barrels barricades are located in front of some kind of oh, VIP house, or might be the and very politically, economically important space, but not to protect the people and the
right,
political
right,
power, and those, they are protecting the only the power stations,
right.
and not
And
the
then
people.
your monuments that I know lots of your work and thinking reflects on the idea of national monuments
Yeah,
and then inherent social and political implications. And in US, we're having a similar moment when confronting our own traumatic and oppressive narratives. So I'm also curious how to describe the function of these relics and how public art can impact a society today.
yeah, and especially Sri Lankan situation. So the public art. So we made its political through my two monuments, and might be Jagat Veera Singha's Shrine of the Innocent. Now it's not anymore there. But anyway, those are the very political monuments. So
Right,
my monument at the Sidua, Raddolua, the empty space became that emptiness or absence became a presence. That the first time I used that empty space to predict the disappeared person. So I think again the not only the public monument, it has to be some kind of support from some kind of people who can take care about the monuments. Also, it's depending on the what kind of people supported to construct or keep that monument. Also important. So that is why the one of my monuments every year it became a kind of place people gather and contemplating about deaths and thinking about it's like they are coming to the uh, kind of cemetery, uh, but their their sons and daughters were missing. They have,
right, right, right.
yeah. So
So
that
you're
is why it's
creating,
kind of those people. There's a
right,
place to go,
right, right,
but otherwise the other public monuments are not like only the political figures are there.
right,
People are it's sponsored by the government or some organization, but it is not kind of influencing the politically, I think. But luckily we are doing this kind of monuments, especially my monument, and I think Jagat, those are the most political monuments.
right, right, right,
And I did the kind of anti-monument kind of, you can't see it because it's like a normal height one face is Neelan Tiruchellam's monument in at Kinsey Road in Colombo, so where he was assassinated. So
right,
it is kind of in our level, our height, and so you can see his face and your reflection also around it. So it's like reflected metal, surface I use for the background for that face. So then at the same time interacting the space, and you see the the killed assassinated person, and same time you see you on that monument, in that monument, you see your reflections also there. So then kind of that might be the, I thought it will provoke your mind, think about the what you have to do to keep the place without killings. And that is
Right.
why
It's like a
those kind of is
remember.
very, yeah,
Yeah.
memory, and
Right. Like taking a
and
moment
so
to think back
y-
and remember what
yeah,
happened. Yeah. Yeah.
so
I
there
mean,
should be
even
more monuments, but unfortunately, after the winning of the war, then there are a lot of monuments established in North, but it is not by the people's monument. It is
right,
kind of monuments uh, done by the army or supported by the army or supported only government to show their victory over some the
right,
war,
right,
and it's kind of oppressive monuments. Those are the very
right,
oppressive monuments rather than
right,
the, so
right,
they erase the whole, the LTT monuments and establish new kind of monuments.
right,
So then
right,
you
right,
again you are erasing a memory, establishing the new kind of the myth or realities or constructed histories. But those are that is the we have to read the uh, monuments how they use for the you know erasing the memory, and same time we did our monument to provoke people's mind to think about your existence and what you have to do for the betterment of
right,
your society, and
right, right, right.
not to be killed.
I mean,
And
currently we're experience something just never happened before, and in this COVID post the COVID world, I mean, we cannot not talk about what will happen in the future and then how much it impact our community, and that how much is moved to online. And
yeah,
this, so I want to ask you, has this digital shift impacted your practice and approach when thinking about public engagement?
yeah,
And has this perhaps open up new opportunity for multidisciplinary artists in Sri Lanka, or
yeah.
how much it impacted your practice?
Yeah, that is why the I think the with Saskia in April I did the online drawing works showed by that's my first experience with that
Okay.
art, and under the COVID situation. So same time I'm responding not only not the immediately on COVID, because it's like epidemic or it's happened to everywhere. It's not a political thing now,
Right,
but
right,
I'm responding to politics under the COVID, what's happening.
right, right,
And when you are surface, you see kind of COVID, but still the same issues are coming up. That is why it's still like same motives are using, even though I did those drawings. That is why the new second chance is to have first time online my annual exhibition. Normally, you have to engage with the people, the living, the live space. But this time you have to have online and distancing. But might be for some work, might be you need to have a kind of first hand. You have to see that work. But somehow in this COVID situation, you have to adapt to. It's like uh, so then you weave your work even in Sri Lanka is like outside of Sri Lanka. So for example, if we want to see the museum pieces, we go through the online, so we are looking at it. but in that way that we are reaching it. But I think uh, somehow we have to adapt to it, but it's not the real answer for the art or living. Because, for example, we are losing because we used to live with the people. You have personal interactions, social interactions, and that give you chance to read and the people's behaviors and what is happening around and what happened to them also. But here is isolation and you are only working with the mind.
Right,
So
right, right.
that
That's
distance might
challenging.
be the kind of, but anyway, so then the only the memories you have, more memories. So what is the, for me might be the very important, but they are trying to camouflage through the COVID.
Right, right,
So I
right,
have to remove that camouflage and to look at that what's happening now actually, because COVID is like it's a natural disaster kind of environmental issue. It's affected everywhere in the world. But how political leaders are reacting to that, it became you can overcome it, and you can see how the American president or the how they react to the COVID, and people were suffers, And here also we can see how with the political powers are using controlling the information even what's happening around us with related to COVID to gain their the political power, keep their political power also.
right,
So that is why. So as artists, we have to see what is underneath what is happening with the COVID. If COVID is just umbrella now, but that so under that shadow, a lot of governments are trying to hide something. So our job is to see what they are trying to hide.
right.
That is why the
And
I have to under the COVID situation. So I have to rethink my new work, and then I found kind of relationship. It's like a 2014 coming back in 2020. So some issues I started to talk in 2013 and 14, so that now it's more relevant now, and again and again it's happening now.
right.
So
So you mentioned about your new works. Is that something that you're going to, is that the series that you're going to show at the upcoming exhibition at Saskia Fernando Gallery? And
he,
then the Sri Lanka recently opened the MMCA, the
yeah,
Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art in Sri Lanka.
yeah, yeah.
So can you share what that means and what your new work's about?
It is a very important event for Sri Lanka because we had no chance to see contemporary art in one roof, under
Right,
one roof,
right,
and from senior artists to the young artists, and
right,
a lot of ethnicities, Tamil artists, Sinhalese and Muslim, and various Burger artists, and Sri Lankan, but belongs to various ethnicities. How period of time from 1940s to today, up to 2019, that works. When the originally that exhibition was designed for the uh, Dakar uh, Art Summit, but it was repeated with the opening of the Contemporary and Modern Art Museum. So that just it just started, So end of last December when it's open, and every day more people are came to see the work. That is very important, And but unfortunately, due to the COVID situation, they have to restrict the and now they have to. It's like it's not working, but it's now it's kind of that event and opening of the museum is very important. But the museum has to work, and so then we can see the Sri Lankan contemporary art in one roof. And because the sometimes contemporary artists are losing their work. For example, my lot of installation are deteriorating because you don't have a space to keep, because those kind of political work you can't um, art
Right.
just
The
normal people
archive
are not
and
buying,
right,
art buyers are not buying those kind of things, you know. we
right,
can
right,
we can have this we can justify it because they have no space to keep in their houses, but
right,
there has to be have a public or public and private partnerships, or private galleries or who keep those work. So
right.
then
And
you
archiving
are
and
keeping
research.
the contemporary memory of or
Right,
contemporary responses of the artist to the time as an art forms. So then later people can go and see.
right,
And
right,
so that is very important to establish that kind of art center, the museum. And yeah, so the Saskia Fernando Gallery is given more another space because she's showed a lot of contemporary artists, experimental, the non-traditional way of producing, produced
right. The
artists who had a
installations.
chance. But it
Right,
is a kind of gallery, you are refreshing your artworks. But we need a museum, so where
right,
people can go and see the work. You
right.
know,
And then be able
that
to
is why
have a communication. Yeah,
yeah, lucky that I'm happy that you got my work. But as a Sri Lankan viewers, they have to come to you or the Fukuoka or Queensland to see the barrelism work.
right, right,
And as an Sri Lankan artist, you are living in Sri Lanka, but your most of the important works are not in your country. So that it's a nice kind of the viewers. It's the people has to keep those works. For them, it has to be somewhere, and that is the attempt I think they have to do to collect contemporary art. People can see, and so not only the international art galleries can keep those work, but Sri Lankan also has to have their own kind of
right,
international collection.
right.
Yeah.
So,
In
are you
that
going to
sense, it's
have
very important.
more? Are you going to have some more installation at the upcoming exhibition at Saskia Fernando Gallery?
Yeah. One installation, two installation work. One is the main sculpture, because producing a one sculpture became a kind of new kind of my approach to these themes every year. I think I'm reproducing one work which I produced 2014, assembling it as a new work. And it's kind of a technique I'm using. I learned from the Paolozzi, Eduardo Paolozzi, when he broke the cut pieces together and making a sculpture. So that same technique I'm using for that my own sculpture. And politically, I'm saying that process is a meaning, that the trying to gather that those pieces are happening now. That figure is government is trying to construct, or the president, or this presidential through the special task force and the appointment of the military people to the civil post. So it's happening now, and that is why I am responding. I just reproducing the same work but in different approach,
I
and
see.
it is became a installation. So, and I'm going to do another graffiti work, because recently the graffiti mania kind of people just after the election of post presidential election, immediately that week a lot of young people came out, uh, At that time, I was not in Sri Lanka. I escaped to survive. I thought they are going to harass me, and that under that situation, I was away from Sri Lanka. But in Sri Lanka, I think a lot of walls were covered with the new images and kind of wall art movement sponsored by the hidden sponsors of the who won, I think, the new political powers. And the nationalistic approaches were there, militaristic, military images and war heroes, and those kind of graffitis were there, and more Sinhala Buddhist kind of images. But I am responding that I'm using that graffiti approach to another work, but I am using the Sinhala word in graffiti way, like internationally graffiti artists use that language, visual
Right.
approach. I'm trying to do that, and same time with the shadow. So it is kind of painting plus installation. Others are
And
the
the sculpture, like multi mediums.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I'm looking
but
forward to seeing your show through, I guess, online. So I
yeah.
hopefully Saskia
There is a
uploads
one
many
painting is a
images.
white on white actually. I
Oh,
don't know how it's
wow.
going to. Yes, it's a
Yeah.
the figure and ground both are white.
Wow.
So you have to, your naked eye can see it. I don't know how the online, so it's depend on the photographer how he captured it. So let's
Right,
see
right,
how
right,
we are
right,
trying
right,
to photograph it on 21st and
right.
launch
I'll
before.
specifically ask for that painting then. Well, so thank you, Chandragupta, for your time. But as we conclude, I'd like to ask you, is there anything you would like to suggest for the next curated exhibition with the artist based in Sri Lanka?
Uh,
I mean, hopefully we could do it again in Los Angeles.
yeah, there are, yeah. Artists are always, that's a big, vibrant, but it's not, yeah, there are a lot of new artists are coming up. We have to look at their work.
Right, right,
And so I think we can find interesting new artists.
right,
So, and new works. Let's see. Yeah, I think when the situation are coming to the better, better space, better situation, so then we have more chance to look at their work.
right, right. Well, the
And
next time when I visit Sri Lanka, I wanted to go for this reason.
yeah,
So I'm looking very forward to going back again.
yeah,
And I
better.
personally wanted to take more time talking about your experience in Moscow and after you returned and how you start your school. But I think the time is
Restricted.
already
Yeah,
been,
yeah,
yes. So I hope we can do this again.
yeah, yeah. But my title this year, it
Yes.
is responding to the word atmosphere.
Oh,
I, it's like I broke it to the sounds at most fear.
oh,
It's like
wow. Yeah, Moscow. Yes, yes.
at atmosphere.
Right,
It's
right,
like a
right,
fear is happening because, and
right.
so let's see how it's work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you.